Hello, Lena Graham-Morris, President of NAWBO Orlando. How are you today?
I'm great. And actually, I am outgoing president. We are coming to the end of the term. We just came back from Advocacy Day and president onboarding from with our national organization. So it has been a wonderful year. Wonderful year.
Yes, it has. As being the communications board for 22-20. I keep saying 22. Well, because we're going into 22-23, but for 21-22.
21-22, yes.
Yes, as a communications chair, I would say that it was actually a really great year. Thank you for leading the way. I'm glad that I was able to serve under your leadership. So thank you for that.
Well, thank you for serving. You're amazing.
Thanks. Well, you mentioned something about advocacy. And so you just got back from DC. And I know I have the question, and I know a lot of folks have a question and I wrote this question because I wanted you to be specific about it. What is advocacy from NAWBO's perspective?
So you know what? I love that you asked me that question because I'm going to totally not answer it the way that you anticipated, right? And this is why. Because from my perspective, advocacy is always like politics and lobbying and almost, don't want to sometimes touch it. But I was so enlightened by my trip because it was so educational, just from a perspective of the opportunities and resources that are available for women-owned businesses and disadvantaged businesses. And so, a part of what is traditionally happens with the National Association of Women Business Owners, as we love to term NAWBO's perspective from Advocacy Days, is the prior, there is a President's Onboarding Summit. And because of COVID, we didn't get to have an actual in-person as I came into leadership, but I was actually still able to attend because I'm transitioning into being on the National Steering Committee, which is sort of a mentorship for a new oncoming presidents. So we had an onboarding piece, that was the kickoff, and then the installation of the national board. And then, it went into what we term, or NAWBO terms, Advocacy Days. And so let me just say this. There's two parts that I want to talk to. You probably already have this to address and lead me, but there's the piece I know that for how I participated in the program, but then there's what they happen at Advocacy Days. So I had, in my mind, what's going to happen, what advocacy and everything. But there was fireside chats with, the Deputy Assistant Secretary for Policy and Economic Development Administration, Michelle Chang, right? There was a NAWBO Advocate of the Year award given away to a magnificent restaurateur in Chicago who led the way during COVID for women-led businesses who suffered tremendously. So just to hear her story and her experience. There was the Natalie Cofield, who blew my mind. She is the Office of Women's Business Ownership for the U.S. Small Business Administration. Did you even know we had that? Like, I pride myself in all things disadvantaged business and certifications. And to see that her and the information and knowledge that she had, it actually made me excited to be a part of a women-led business, to be a part of this organization. So I just want to, from the perspective of anyone out in NAWBO land and NAWBO community who had any reservations of going and thinking that, I'm going and it's a lot of politicians, this was an educational piece that was beyond compare. And it put us in the rooms with people who are decision makers and policy and things that impact us. I was able to participate in a survey because one of the pieces that NAWBO is really pushing is getting small business redefined, because right now with the SBA, there's like a term and it's like 500, under 500 employees, anything up to 500 employees. And so the NAWBO was really talking about micro businesses, right? And that's the majority of women-led businesses and disadvantaged businesses have under 10 employees, right? But so they're micro businesses. So how to make sure we don't get lost in that. So it was just,
and they're micro mighty.
Then they're micro might, yes. That, I mean,
Mighty.
that's, yes, absolutely. But get lost in these processes because lumped together with these larger companies. And for me, I can do the yeah. So I'm a part of both. Like, so we have a really, really robust business, and then but then I still have the consulting. So for me, I can see it from both angles. That's what I'm trying to say. Like, and I've seen it from all sorts of angles because I've been an entrepreneur for so long. Yeah. So I just and so then going back to what advocacy means for NAWBO, it's a seat at the table. And what I think that our members and community should know is if they feel uncomfortable with advocacy, that's the primary reason that you should get involved with NAWBO so that you have a voice and you have folks that you can talk to help to navigate and break things down into bite-sized pieces so that it doesn't intimidate us and we can move the needle forward on things that are going to impact us making money. And maintaining our business, scaling sustainability. So,
wow. Okay. Because now you're providing me with so much information and insight that I didn't assume that that's what it was all about. So if you do attend the conference, right? Because it's every year, correct?
It's every year.
What are some of the immediate actions that take place? Is there immediate actions that take place there in DC, or is it more for the business owners to receive so they know to take back to home and then how to leverage the information that they receive?
So the great thing about it is, in addition to all of the education that I'm talking about, the NAWBO sets up meetings for you with your local political leaders, right? To talk about, so NAWBO and Elpa too, she runs the kind of the advocacy piece and the go-to for us for our organization. Her team sets up meetings. So there's a walk onto Capitol Hill, there's meeting with representatives and politicians that are in your community, right, that are in Washington, that NAWBO National helps to facilitate so that there's, you definitely get that meeting. And so there is an action point with it. So we do not go on either side of the aisle as an organization, but we look to be behind, we look to be behind anything that impacts policy that impacts women-led businesses. And so that's what it's really about, getting in front of individuals about those policies. And so the NAWBO national team and NAWBO advocacy team helps with that call to action.
From a absolutely bipartisan approach. Okay.
Yes.
Nice. So, well, I also sort of heard that Lena was on a panel at Advocacy Days. So tell us about this panel and how did Lena get on this panel? I mean, I know Lena is great and all and so forth, so I'm not surprised, but I'm sure others would like to learn, how were you able to participate? How did you get on this panel? And what was this panel about?
Yeah, so thank you for asking about that. So I think that the reflection of being on the panel is a reflection of why NAWBO is so important, right? So through my journey with NAWBO, I have met women nationally. Through volunteering with NAWBO, I have met women nationally. And so there is a young lady Margaret Hernandez, who is runs communications for national, who, when I was communications chair, we worked tightly together and for multiple years met online. They were able to connect at some of the national conferences. And she was asked to put together a conference about how women can promote themselves in a digital sense. And so when she reached out to me, I was a little like, okay, I am flattered with it, but I don't consider myself any type of an influencer or so forth. So tell me what you want to get from me on the panel. And she came back and she said, absolutely. She said, you are a micro influencer because, and you are so positive in what you put out and it's impactful. And I think you and I even had the conversation once, because I was telling you, I was like, yeah, she wanted me to do this. And there's people that get hundreds and hundreds of likes and so forth. But and one of the things you mentioned to me was, again, that having impactful content, that sometimes people will definitely look at it, but may not want to publicly identify with it. But so she wanted me to talk about my journey, my brand, the Entreprenista, and why I share what I share online. And and I let her know, like I let anybody know, I show up online like I show up in life, authentic, and vulnerable, authentic, courageous, and vulnerable. That's how I try to go into any room. I try to be myself all the time, or the best version of myself that I can be in the situation, because sometimes you gotta take it from a 10 to a 2, okay. And then courageous, I have to show up every day courageous in every room I go in, specifically being an African-American woman that is in a leadership role in a construction company. So and in an executive position. I mean, there's every day I'm in a room, I'm the only person who looks like me, right? So I have to show up courageous every day. And also, though, being vulnerable, being able to own who I am, all the imperfections, all the strengths. And so that's, a lot of people use social media to paint this, really big picture of themselves. I try to show up like I show up in life with those 3 words. And that was the reason why Margaret said she wanted me on the panel and to share some of my stories. So I was able to do that. And I was able to sit on the panel side by side with one of the leading folks from Meta, which, if you don't know, that Facebook and Instagram now is, Meta. And so it was a great experience.
WhatsApp now too. WhatsApp too, I think now.
So it was a great experience. And again, it goes back to why I would say being involved with an organization such as NAWBO, the exposure, the like-minded women, the volunteerism and servant leadership, it always pays off. And so that's when you ask me, how did I get on a panel? I got on a panel because I didn't start this journey to get on a panel. I started this journey to serve and to give back and to be shoulder to shoulder with like-minded women. And always along the way, if you're authentic, I believe, and you show up like that, then other opportunities surface.
Right. Wow. Well, you answered, my question. And I think it's a testament to your character of being asked to be, on a panel at a national level. And it's also a testament to your character of being the president for, 21, 22. And, also the first woman of color. We can't forget that for NAWBO, right? Because how many years was it? How many years?
It was 25 years, but we are in alignment with our national strategic imperatives, and it won't be 25 years again. That is I'm the first, but not by any means the last. And so, ladies, it's time for all of us to step up and serve, and even if and be vulnerable, because if you think that wasn't vulnerable, you tell me what was.
Yes, that's a great point to leave that. That's good. Well, we appreciate you sharing your experience of going to Advocacy Days and putting a little plug in for folks to get there next year, especially because they can do immediate action with their local politicians, local officers, and get some things done, as well as take on all the education information that they need, because yes, there's a lot of micro women businesses out there, but they're micro and mighty. So I think that is phenomenal that we have these advocacy days for women owned and women led businesses. So thank you so much, Lena. We appreciate you, and we'll see you next time.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you.